Day number 12 of Chicago Bears training camp is in the books. It was a joint practice with the Miami Dolphins at Halas Hall, and pass rusher Khalil Mack, he had himself a hell of a day today. What's up, guys? I'm back with the daily Chicago Bears training camp update videos where I'll be giving you guys all the latest news from Bears training camp every single day during this offseason of 2021. So if you guys want all that news, be sure to subscribe to this channel. But in today's video, guys, I'll be talking about the practice that happened today on August 11th with the Miami Dolphins, okay? It was a joint practice between two teams, us and the Miami Dolphins, because we're playing a preseason game against the Dolphins in a few days on Saturday. That's going to be Justin Fields' debut at Soldier Field, which I cannot wait to see, okay? I'm going to be going to that game. I'll be in section 130 with my friends. So if you guys are at the game and if you see me, definitely be sure to say hi, okay? I'd love to meet with you guys and chat about the Bears or whatever. But talking about today's practice, guys, so today, even though it was a joint practice, there weren't a crazy amount of updates because today's practice actually was open to the fans at first, but then it started raining after like 20 minutes of practice. So the fans were sent home after the first 20 minutes of practice, and then when the practice resumed after the rain delay ended, the media that was at the practice, both the Dolphins reporters and the Bears reporters, they weren't allowed to live tweet the practice because the Bears have a very dumb media policy, okay? They really want to limit the amount of stuff coming out from these practices to the public for whatever reason. So I don't have like a lot of specific plays to talk about, but I do have, a lot of players that I know did well based on reports from people there. So let me just get into it, guys, okay? So talking about the first story, the title of this video, pass rusher Khalil Mack, he looked like a dominant player out there on the football field today, okay? From both sides, okay? Both the Dolphins reporters and the Bears reporters agreed that Khalil Mack looked like the best player on the football field, okay? He was out there blowing up multiple plays, making life pretty difficult for Tua, okay? Tua was having a hard time dealing with the Bears defensive line, and, a lot of that was because of Khalil Mack blowing up a lot of plays, okay? So he had multiple sacks, he had, good run defense as well, getting there in the backfield pretty early. So it seems like it was just a monstrous day for Khalil Mack, which I love to see, guys. Okay, this guy gets a lot of hate now from the media and from fans as well for not putting up big sack numbers, but there's a lot more to the game of football than solely getting sacks, okay? There's a lot more to being a pass rusher than only getting those sack numbers. Khalil Mack has been great for us even last year, okay? Even though he had less than 10 sacks. If you look at the film, he was one of the best players on that football field, and it seems like he's even better so far this year. So love to see that out of Khalil Mack. But going on to the entire defensive line then, man, I mean, the entire Bears defensive line was feasting today. It was not just Khalil Mack. Akeem Hicks, Kyrie's Tonga, Bilal Nichols, all of those guys had really good days going up against the Miami Dolphins offensive line, which you have to keep in mind, guys. Also, the Miami Dolphins offensive line has been having struggles so far this year. They have a rookie, I think, on the right side, Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame. So obviously, going up against a rookie does make things a lot easier. And the rest of their offensive line, too, has not been the best so far. But still, guys, to see our defensive line just out there completely blowing up a lot of those plays, okay? There were a lot of sacks on Tua. Tua even had to talk to his offensive line at one point and demand them to play better pretty much, right? Like, he was under constant pressure for a good portion of this practice, which was a good thing for him also because he needs to get better as a football player. Last year against pressure, he was not the best quarterback, so it's good practice for Tua. But our defensive line was providing that good practice for him because we had a lot of big plays today on that D-line. We also had a fumble by Tua, which Bilal Nichols picked up, so that was a great play by Bilal Nichols, adding to that turnover bucket, which is continuing to grow on this defense. Okay, the Bears defense really loves the idea of having the turnover bucket there, so love to see that turnover happen, and just love to see our D-line also feasting on this weak offensive line, because that's what a strong defensive line like the Bears defensive line should be doing, even without Eddie Goldman, right? Because Eddie Goldman is still out due to COVID. I don't know when he's going to be back, hopefully soon, but his backup, Kyrie's Tonga, the 7th round pick from this year, he was playing pretty good out there as well. So hopefully that's another very good pick by Ryan Pace. I mean, he can really find these steals for the defensive line. Okay, the defensive line has pretty much always been strong under Ryan Pace, at least like the last few years here. So love to see that out of the Bears defense. One part of the defense, though, that did not do as well was part of the secondary. So Duke Shelley, guys, cornerback Duke Shelley, who's playing in the slot today, he did not have a good day of practice according to reports. Okay, wide receiver Matt Collins, playing in the slot, really had himself a day going up against Duke Shelley. Okay, getting open pretty often, making a lot of good catches and also scoring touchdowns, I believe, as well. So Matt Collins really won the day against Duke Shelley, which isn't a good thing for the Bears defense right now, because as of now, he's our starting corner at nickel, at least according to the depth chart, right? Because Desmond Trufant is most likely playing on the outside. I don't know if he can play nickel, but regardless, man, if Duke Shelley is starting at nickel for us this year, I don't know how I feel about that, right? Because he's also struggled earlier in camp as well, going up against A-Rob, which that's to be expected, guys, because A-Rob is one of the best receivers in the NFL. But to also struggle against a guy like Matt Collins, that's not a good sign as of now. Now, keep in mind, it's still pretty early in camp. It's only been 2.5 weeks, so don't overreact yet to this. There still could be other options than nickel for us, like maybe somebody we get after training camp cuts, or maybe even an in-house option like Thomas Graham Jr., or maybe Desmond Trufant can actually play nickel. I've never seen him play nickel, but maybe he can. But whatever the case is, guys, Duke Shelley has not been playing up to par so far. Another bad thing to talk about is that the Bears offensive line put up another stinker today at practice. Okay, that should not be surprising to you guys at this point, because that's been the theme of camp so far. So many injuries on the offensive line. Today we were missing James Daniels and everybody else as well. So our starting 5 today at offensive line was Wilkinson, Whitehair, Mustipher, Bars, and Latavius Simmons. That is not a good starting 5 offensive line. And it showed, because our O-line really struggled in protecting both quarterbacks, okay? Andy Dalton and Justin Fields, which, keep in mind, Justin Fields played with even worse players than this starting 5, okay? So even though the Dolphins do have a talented defensive line, they have a very good defense overall, that's no excuse to play as bad as the Bears offensive line played today. And it's not a good development coming out of camp, because we have to probably do something if things, continue to be this bad, right? There's still a lot of offensive tackles available on the market right now. You got Russell Okung, you got Rick Wagner, you got a couple other guys as well. Why are you not signing those guys if you are Ryan Pace, if your offensive line is struggling this bad? The only thing I can think of is that maybe they think that Tevin Jenkins and Jermaine Ifedi are close to being back, which if that's the case, then great. Okay, then maybe our offensive line will be playing a lot better in the future, in the near future. But as of now, they're playing very, very bad, and that's not a good thing for the health of our offense. Talking about the quarterbacks now, though, how did the quarterbacks look? Justin Fields and Andy Dalton. I'll begin by talking about Justin Fields, because he was the player that a lot of people in the media were talking about after today's practice, because according to the people there, he had the throw of the day, okay, from both sides. So he had a 45-yard deep touchdown pass to John V. Johnson. Again, guys, John V. Johnson has been one of this guy's favorite receivers, okay, one of Fields' favorite receivers. So I'm not surprised that he was the recipient of that pass, but he had, a great pass there, getting behind the safety, and, Johnson was pretty much open, and just Fields put the ball right in his hands. It was a great ball, and not surprisingly, completely on the money. I mean, Justin Fields' deep ball throughout all of camp has been sensational, okay? Just such a beautiful ball, and it's pretty much always on point. So the fact that he got that deep touchdown, that's obviously great to see. He also had another deep play. It was not a touchdown, but it was also a, I believe, 25-30-yard pass to John V. Johnson again. So, man, John V. Johnson could seriously be making a case to be wide receiver number 6 or number 5 even on this roster, because he's making a crazy amount of plays. Okay, if he keeps on doing this in the preseason games and also rest of camp as well, you have to at least think about keeping him on this roster, because Fields has a very good connection with him so far. I totally get that it's only training camp, but man, this guy looks fast out there so far. Fields did have one pick today, though. It was a bad ball, which rookie safety Javon Holland picked off, so not a good ball there by Fields. But besides that one mistake, there really weren't a lot more mistakes that I found reported by reporters there. He was so good today, in fact, that even Dolphins reporters were gushing about how good our quarterback actually is. Which, can you think about the last time that's ever happened? Okay, reporters from other teams talking about how good our quarterback is. That almost never happens, okay? So today, Dolphins reporter David Furones from the Sun Sentinel talked about Fields' passes, and he said that I really like the way Justin Fields is getting the ball out there. He appears to be the real deal, which, keep in mind, guys, this is a guy that's totally unbiased toward the Chicago Bears. Why is he going to want to favor, a Bears quarterback? So even these unbiased people from other sources, okay, outside of the Bears building, outside of us, okay, outside of us Bears fans, even they think that Justin Fields is actually a special talent at quarterback, which that should make you so excited if you are a Chicago Bears fan. So he did have some mistakes, obviously, but all in all, it was another great day of practice by our rookie quarterback. So I'd love to see that. Moving on to Andy Dalton then. I don't have a lot of reports from Andy Dalton's side because there wasn't a lot of stuff reported about him. But from what I can tell, it was another decent day by Andy Dalton. He did have one interception again to Javon Holland. Okay, so Javon Holland had 2 picks today from both of our quarterbacks. So good play by Holland there. But it seems like Dalton was good for the most part, but he didn't have the same amount of like impressive throws as Justin Fields had, which should make sense to you guys because right now, even though he probably still is ahead by a little bit in this QB race against Justin Fields, you know, Justin Fields obviously has a much higher ceiling than Andy Dalton has, okay, with his physicality, with his athleticism, like the ability to run a 4.4 40-yard dash. Obviously, Andy Dalton cannot do those things, so he's not going to have the same amount of, you know, wow throws as Justin Fields had, but he can still be a pretty, you know, average starter, hopefully, at the very least. So that's the news about the quarterbacks. And then lastly, talking about my final story of the day, we had another special guest, guys. Okay, last week we had Doug Peterson show up for a few days. Today, we had Alex Smith show up at practice out of nowhere. Okay, obviously he's one of Coach Nagy's good friends because Coach Nagy worked with Alex Smith during his season in 2017 where there was both Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith in the same QB room. That was the year that, you know, Alex Smith was actually in the MVP race for a good portion of that year. So Matt Nagy really helped him have a very good year that year. So the two are pretty close. And, you know, today Alex Smith was helping run drills in Bears practice. He was also talking to the quarterbacks as well, talking with Justin Fields, which, guys, I love to see that, okay? This guy mentored Patrick Mahomes. He obviously knows helpful things to say to young quarterbacks because the last quarterback he mentored turned into an MVP and one of the greatest to play the game already. So I'm not saying that he's going to have the same impact on Justin Fields because he was only here for 1 day, okay? And I don't know if he's going to return because he actually got a job with ESPN today, okay? So congrats to Alex Smith on getting that job. But I just really love that Matt Nagy is bringing in so many smart people to help teach things to Justin Fields, okay? First, Doug Peterson, a Super Bowl winning head coach, and then Alex Smith, okay? A guy with a lot of experience in this league and also, you know, experience mentoring Patrick Mahomes. So the fact that Matt Nagy really wants Justin Fields to, you know, to succeed this badly, that he's bringing in all these smart people around him to just help him run these drills at camp, I really love to see that from Matt Nagy because it seems like, you know, our entire organization, right? We're learning from our previous mistakes with other Bears quarterbacks. Okay, we're actually surrounding him with a lot of smart football minds. We're also giving him a pretty good offense to work with, pretty good receivers. The offensive line isn't the best right now, but hopefully that gets fixed when everybody's, you know, finally gets healthy. But whatever the case is, man, I really like bringing in Alex Smith because it's another smart guy to talk to your young quarterback. But that's pretty much going to wrap up my video, guys. That's all the news I have for you guys today. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Okay, what do you think about these stories? And I'll be back with another video tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow is the second joint practice with the Miami Dolphins. Hopefully, I get a lot more news from that practice. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be back tomorrow. As always, bear down.